Mike Sempervive here with you for the next hour talking about professional wrestling, which is something we do every single day here on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. Tune in, iHeart, American Forces Radio, sportsbyline.com, over-the-air affiliates, podcast, replays on SiriusXM, video streaming on Twitch or YouTube. However you're joining me today, I'd just like to say thank you. Hopefully wherever you are, it's sunny outside. If not, hopefully it's sunny inside your mind. Starting to get overcast where I'm at here, but I don't care. We had like 3 perfect spring days in a row, so I cannot complain whatsoever. Unlike my wife, who complains all the time this time of year because one of her favorite shows, The Young and the Restless, is about to be preempted due to the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and that same college basketball tournament is going to cause a preemption for AEW Collision. This is from a story posted up to the main page of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, or WrestlingObserver.com, by Josh Nason today. There will be no Collision on Saturday, March 23rd, due to the tournament. Early in February, it was reported that the Wednesday, March 20th edition of AEW Dynamite, this coming Wednesday from Toronto, is going to be followed by a live edition of Rampage due to NCAA commitments from the network on Friday. Both shows will air on TBS. Starting this Saturday, AEW is beginning a 4-show Canadian tour that will see them visit Ottawa, Toronto, Quebec City, and London over the next 2 weeks. The last time that Collision was preempted was last month due to the NBA All-Star Weekend. That followed preemptions for Saturday's pay-per-views in November for Full Gear and December for World's End. So AEW's schedule indicates a return to TV normalcy after next week, but the next shift comes on Saturday, April 20th, when they will air Collision, followed by a live Rampage. It is unclear why the Friday, April 19th Rampage is being preempted, but it is likely due to the NBA or NHL playoffs being aired on there. So a lot to get into today. We got a little bit of a return to normalcy on this show, as Filthy Tom Lawler is back. It is a Filthy Friday. He's taken a break from mashing faces into the mat and breaking bones and embarrassing Satoshi Kojima during title ceremonies. Going to get his thoughts on a lot of things, including, yeah, I'm doing it to you again, the breakup of the AEW Continental Crown. We're going to let Filthy put a big exclamation point on the end of that and maybe make fun of Bryan and I. We'll find out. We'll be back, Wrestling Observer Live.
Green Hill. Hello. He's escaped. Do you know which way he was headed? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Shoulders. He's been here.
Welcome back to the show. Mike Sempervive here with you, and Filthy Tom Waller, too. You know, we do this show right here for an hour at a time, but if you want us 24/7, you can try to find us on Twitter/X. I am at Sempervive. Filthy is at Filthy Tom Lawler. The website is at WONF4W, and the broadcaster is at Sports Byline USA. Jim Valley and Andrew Zarian are what their names are on Twitter. And Jim is here with you on Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific. And Andrew Zarian is here with you on Sundays starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, or 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You know, I'm terrible with these plugs today, Filthy. You know, I'm not even gonna tell everybody about the wrestling news. They should know about that already. At Wrestling News AV on Facebook and Twitter, thewrestlingnews.com. Find it wherever you find your favorite podcasts. But without any other further ado, our champion, MLW World Tag Team Champion, Filthy Tom Lawler, has rejoined the show after several weeks away. We've been missing you on Filthy. I've been missing you on Fridays, Tom. And what better Friday for you to come back? It is the Ides of March, the Saint Ides of March. Welcome back.
Thank you for that grand introduction. The people's champion, the man of the peephole, Filthy Tom Lawler. Yes, back in action. One half of the world's toughest tag team. I dare you, Mike Sempervive, to find two guys in the pro wrestling ranks who could beat up me and Harry Smith. 2-on-2. I don't think you're going to find them.
Not going to be many out there who I put my money on. Now,
No.
look, you've had a lot going on here recently, and your April seems to be lining up quite nicely here. I saw the Deadlock show, Captain's Fall, 6-man tag team match coming up in Durham, North Carolina. You and the West Coast Wrecking Crew, which you guys seem to be back on the same page here a little bit. I don't know. Is everything good in the land of Team Filthy?
We talk things out a little bit. You know, sometimes these matches get signed, the contracts are inked before some stuff goes down, but we've worked it out in the interim, and we were victorious this past weekend, and we will be victorious once again in the Captain's Fall elimination. I've been trying to get rid of Dom Guarini and Kevin Koo for years now, ever since I gave them the boot out of Team Filthy, and I'm finally going to do it once and for all. And LeBron Cazone, he's going back to the KO zone once again in this match. Team Filthy will walk out victorious.
You cannot lose to a man named LeBron Calzone. You can't do it. You cannot do this, Tom. You need to be ready for this. You cannot lose to LeBron Calzone. You can't. And I did notice, too, can you break any news here on this show about what your plans are going to be on WrestleMania weekend? Because I saw that you have now been added to the Action Wrestling show taking place in nearby Williamstown, New Jersey. Dean, tilde bang, 3 exclamation points. What's up with that? You gonna be doing anything else around that time?
I mean, I'm going to be in town. That is the only show that I am scheduled to perform at. However, I'll be attending the Stardom show, of course. I can't miss that on U.S. soil. But if you want to see me wrestle, you'll have to watch Dean. I am an old member of the Death Valley Driver video review message board from way back in the day, and I'm happy to be on that show.
Got a lot of your Japanese education through the compilations that would come out through there for many years. Actually, you know where I benefited from them was Lucha. Big time was from Lucha, because that was something that I would watch and still watch and enjoy watching. But I have, as far as going back into history and knowing a lot of the people and knowing what matches to watch, I mean, that was really and still is an invaluable resource. So that is cool that they're putting on that show for him and in honor of him. So I have a feeling that you're going to have more planned for that weekend. I think you're being coy about this right now, but we'll see what happens here. Are you going to be now a regular Ring of Honor watcher now that you know that Mina Shirakawa is going to be making an appearance? What do you think about this whole split with Stardom and Mina looking like she's going to be sticking with Stardom and she's going to end up in Windy City in Chicago as well too? Do you want to see more Mina in America?
I think a lot of fans want to see more Mina in America. She is one of the most improved wrestlers over the past few years, I would say. Her overall presentation has really been upped ever since, around the time of the pandemic. Since she had that jaw injury, right? She got her face smashed in by Saya Kamatani.
Yes.
If I remember correctly. And ever since she came back from that, she's really been in top form. So glad to see her on U.S. soil. It was a surprise, She wasn't advertised previously. And to me, I think, that's someone that you want to advertise in advance because she has a lot of star quality.
Now watch this transition. Somebody that she had a great match with was Julia. And Julia will be on her way to WWE very soon. She's not there right now, but you know who is? The Rock. And once again, The Rock. Well, go ahead.
Julia, I saw, was actually just taken off of this weekend's Stardom shows.
Yes.
Due to illness. So was this set to be her last appearance?
No, because she's still got some more to go, and I think we're still going to get the match with Tam at some point. Yeah. We're going to get a tag match with them together, and then probably one singles match between the two. That'll probably end her time there. That's what it seems like, at least, unless politics get in the way of that.
Well, clearly it doesn't seem as if she's long for Stardom, although stranger things have happened.
True, but
like
I don't think
The Rock coming back and not going through with the previously for years planned main event with Roman Reigns and instead shifting to what we have now. How do you like that segue, Mike?
Very, very good. Very good. And SmackDown tonight live on Fox from the FedEx Forum in Memphis, Tennessee. The Rock will be there. He posted another social media promo today. This one was only 8 minutes long. No 20-minute, 30-minute, 40-minute adventures with The Rock. Just 8 minutes this time around, where he reiterated that professional wrestling is relevant and popular and cool again, and ratings are up because of him. He told Memphis to get ready. He complimented Cody on going through puberty and slapping the dog out of him on last week's show. He then played a clip of Cody crying on Raw and then went in on him with words that only Bryan and Tony Khan can say on this show. He then promised to bloody him, whip him like a dog, and then take the belt that he whipped him like a dog with and turn around and hand it to his mother, Filthy. What do you think about The Rock here as Uber heel number one leading into WrestleMania?
Corey Lee with the Wrestling Observer. I do want to talk about the main event tonight with Sting's final match. I just wanted to kind of just get your thoughts on Sting's retirement. Obviously, you had a feud with him in TNA over the TNA World Title. Had a couple great matches with him, and just kind of reflect a little bit about your history with Sting and what he means to this business and this company.
You know, I've known Sting as a rival, as a friend. You know, outside the ring as a confidant, somebody who has been a steady and sobering voice during a lot of chaotic situations throughout my career. Aside from that, for 40 years, Sting has elicited emotions from crowds around the world that most wrestlers could only hope they would achieve. And I think that tonight, how much love he received, how many people showed out for his final appearance, and how much we here at AEW appreciate his contributions to this company. To be a man like Sting, to have the legacy and the legendary status that you do, and still show up here and give that 110% and still try to build a new company and still give of himself physically and mentally at a very high level. It speaks to his character, it speaks to who he is as a human being, and it speaks to the legacy that he deserves to be celebrated tonight.
2 more questions?
Scott Fishman, TV Insider. You being the AEW World Champion, you're seen as the leader, like a face of the company. How would you kind of describe the vibe right now backstage in the locker room and the working relationship that you all have? It's been a turbulent couple months last year, but it seems like things are a little steady right now. So kind of how would you kind of describe the feeling that you have backstage?
I think you summed it up perfectly. That was last year. And I mean, this is the AEW underneath my reign. And as far as our locker room committee and stuff, I don't think it's ever been tighter. I don't think it's ever been better. There's an enthusiasm backstage that is infectious, and it's because we have so much new burgeoning talent. We have so many new opportunities to go out there and entertain the crowd with the people that we have at our disposal. That there's just genuine excitement among the locker room, and I think. It's been a long time since this spirit has been felt here, and I'm very much looking forward to where this leads us in the future.
Last question for Joe.
All right, cowards, cool. All right, I'm good.
Samoa Joe, our AEW World Champion, everybody. Thank you so much for your time, Joe.
To the show, Mike Sempervive, Filthy Tom Lawler. Could they tell we were doing this show live, Tom?
If they couldn't, I mean, there's no way we could fake that. We're not that good of actors. So.
No, not at all. Let's re-rack this. SmackDown tonight, live on Fox. The Rock is going to be there. It's Memphis, Tennessee. He likes to sing. What have you thought about The Rock here? He seems to be Bigfooting Roman Reigns, which is seemingly part of the story here. He is sucking all of the air out of the room right now because he is The Rock. What have you thought about the last couple of weeks here and about all these social media promos that he's cutting away here?
I think, as you were saying, he's done, or as I was saying before the show fell apart once again. He's doing the right thing, stepping aside for Cody. And it seems like he's having a ton of fun doing so. As you mentioned, he is kind of bigfooting Roman Reigns. When they are both in there together, he looks to be the bigger star. I mean, the guy is gigantic in stature, physical stature, in his persona, and it comes across. Now, Roman Reigns does have kind of like a different aura about him, more of like a sports, I guess, star, whereas The Rock is more like a movie star, if I had to draw kind of a difference between the two of them. Mike, I wonder, they are in Tennessee. You mentioned if The Rock's going to sing, but I'm really wondering if he took time on the way down in Tennessee to stop at the number one most visited national park in the country, the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, so he can make some more jokes about maybe the Tennessee people having no teeth and smoking some more crack.
See, he was big on that in Arizona. Now, you were just recently in those parts. Did you see on your trip to the Grand Canyon, did you see a lot of meth labs out there in the desert and a whole bunch of crack smokers strewn about like The Rock said about Arizona last week?
I saw a huge crack, but it was made by the Colorado River. No meth houses from what I saw, but hey, maybe The Rock was in a different part. Certainly not in Scottsdale, I'll tell you that much.
No,
there's no meth houses there.
You know where The Rock is also not going to be, it looks like? Saudi Arabia. WWE scheduled to make its return to Saudi Arabia for a PLE, pay-per-view premium live event. It feels so weird saying that still, but got to get used to it. Saturday, May 25th, Dave Meltzer reported last week that while a lot of variables and factors were in play, WWE obviously wanted The Rock on that event. Meltzer noted that there had definitely been a push to get The Rock to work at least one of WWE's Saudi events this year, but in an update in today's Wrestling Observer newsletter, which is up for subscribers at WrestlingObserver.com, Meltzer writes that Rock's movie filming schedule rules him out of the May 25th show in Saudi Arabia. What movie is that? It is The Smashing Machine, May 1st. So we are getting that now. It's not just talk, it's coming to fruition. It is The Rock playing MMA legend Mark Kerr. The Rock $7 Productions is partnering with A24 Films, the same people that put out the Iron Claw Von Erich's movie as well. So, we're going to get The Rock and Roman Reigns. We have to get The Rock and Roman Reigns at some point down the line here, don't we? I mean, this year, do you think that this could be something that they could push off till next year's WrestleMania? It seems to me that, yes, The Rock can do whatever he wants at this stage of his life, be financially solvent and all that sort of stuff for generations, but it's going to be hard for me to believe that a guy his stature is not going to be involved in some movies here, which obviously takes out the chance of him wrestling. Is it this year or never when it comes to The Rock and Roman Reigns?
I think a lot of people were of that mindset up until perhaps January of this year. And it seems that there was a seismic shift, obviously, with the removal of Vince McMahon, and now The Rock being on the board of directors has a more vested interest in what's going on with the WWE and TKO. They have a huge opportunity for all this synergy, not only with the UFC, but with all the other connections that Endeavor has in the world of entertainment. And, maybe he is now planning on sticking around for a long time. Maybe he doesn't see a ceiling, perhaps, for what he can do in the WWE and how much money he can make. I thought that it was going to be this year or never, but my mind has now changed.
If that's the case, say that he does decide that I'm going to be doing this on the board thing and paying more attention to WWE and doing more things, or at least leaving his schedule open to it. If that's the case, does that put any doubt in your mind at all on Cody Rhodes winning the title at WrestleMania? Do you think that there's even a small chance that if this story is going to continue with The Rock and Roman Reigns, that maybe Cody, again, they somehow, is that even possible at this point for Cody Rhodes not to win the thing and then still come out okay with people wanting to see him continue this chase? Because this is not Magnum TA chasing Ric Flair in 1986 where you can take 3 years and maybe make a title change later. I have a feeling at some point the fans and people will turn on Cody and the story and the whole 9 yards. Is there any shot in hell that they do not change the title at Mania?
Cody's got to win that belt. Are you kidding me, Mike? Are you kidding me?
I know.
He has to.
I would think so. But
he's got to.
But if this story, look, the way the whole thing is set up, obviously, it's that The Rock and Cody are going to be in cahoots, and we'll get a reveal on what was whispered, on that one show where Cody gave up the title and, the title shot and walked away before changing his mind again. Those lines will probably be connected there, but I don't know. Because it's like, to me, I don't, at that point, I'm not saying you slap the Stardust costume back on Cody, but I think it would be almost impossible, for people to rally for a third year in a row after you cried your mama, all this stuff, and can you fail again? Can you fail again and continue
Please,
to make it work?
no.
I would hope not.
You could not continue to make it work. And Roman Reigns and The Rock does not need the title behind it.
No,
you know what I mean? One thing that and I could be wrong, but The Rock acknowledged Roman Reigns as his tribal chief. He didn't acknowledge him as the head of the table, did he?
He did not.
So I think that there's still a lot, obviously, to be told in that storyline. I think if you actually take the title away, they can tell this story between the blood-related families, the two families joined by a blood oath generations ago. They could tell this story how they want and put a real focus on their ancestry. And, with the title involved, obviously the title kind of takes a precedent. So I think maybe it'll turn out better for them in the long run.
Speaking of without the title, and Bryan and I disagree on this, and I think I'm probably in the minority when it comes to the thought of Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. I understand why people wanted it to be for the NXT title, but I think you have something with Ilya Dragunov that is also special in its own way, and I think is also beneficial in its own way. And to me, Trick Williams and Melo just don't need that title. Trick needs the title at some point, unless he's going up to the main roster, sooner rather than later. And as a guy like a Solo Sikoa, where, that's never even a thought or a concern, belting him up or something like that. It's really not with the NXT main title. But when it comes to the match, doesn't it, to me, it just seems like it has to be a violent blow-off, a final way for Trick to get revenge, and the NXT title would be, I don't want to say superfluous, but it's unneeded in the story. What do you think? Because, I know people want to see Trick as the NXT champion. I do as well, too. But that can be further down the line. To me, he just really needs to get all of his revenge on Melo.
Based on the reaction that Trick got weeks ago or a month ago when they were in Miami and he made the save for Melo, I would move him up to the main roster. I mean, he was over immediately to that crowd. Melo is the one who's been on SmackDown multiple times representing NXT, but Trick was the one that came out and got the huge ovation from the crowd. So, as you said, I don't think that this story now needs the belt behind it, because I think what they should do is have Trick defeat Melo strong in a brutal fight. Probably not going to be more brutal than whatever Ilya Dragunov cooks up, but give these two all the bells and whistles, let them have a big blow-off match, and then move Trick and Melo up to the main roster after WrestleMania.
I would love to see that. And technically, I mean, we've seen it happen a million times with it, whether it be Gargano and Ciampa or, Owens and Zayn. You can do their team again and this breakup again on the main roster. And if you do it correctly, the people will buy in one more time to it. And the way that Trick Williams has gotten over in the last year or so, the organic reaction that was created and the groundswell that has come behind him, they are sitting in a good position right now when it comes to people up on the main roster. We'll be back. Wrestling Observer Live.
There's 1, 2. Now he's got Bryan Alvarez. He whips him into the corner hard. Adam Firestorm following up, catches a boot to the face. Bryan Alvarez with another hard shot to the head. 1, 2. This is the most aggressive I've seen Bryan Alvarez today here in Portland Wrestling. Now he's got his knee across the throat. He's choking him, LC.
Well, it's like this week Alvarez has something to prove, brother. Something to prove to his sweet little lady over there.
Of course, Adam Firestorm with a big win over Black Dragon last week. Looking for another one here. There's a sunset flip. Is he going to go down? Yes, he is. Over he goes. 1, 2, 3. It is all over. Adam Firestorm with the victory over beautiful Bryan Alvarez here in Portland Wrestling. Now out Bryan Alvarez firing away with a boot. Action continues after the bell. Goes for the back body drop. No! Face first plant by Adam Firestorm. Your winner once, looks like he'll be your winner twice. Action continues. There's a whip into the far corner. Adam Firestorm follows with a spinning kick. LC, I think Bryan Alvarez has bit off more than he could chew tonight. Miss Rentone really disgusted over in the corner. Adam Firestorm not done. There's a lion sold on top. He hooks him again. 1, 2. 2.5. I thought we had a 3 count earlier in this match, LC. I was wrong.
I can't believe it. I thought Youth Gone Wild was just adding a little salt to the wound. I thought Alvarez was Alvarez and a 2-time loser, brother.
Well, Mark Watson's hand must have stopped just short of the 3 count. And these eyes of mine need glasses, because I thought I saw a 3 count Bryan Alvarez going up top.
Oh, we'll forget about your cataracts, brother. Up and over he goes.
Nobody home. Adam Firestorm back in control, playing a bit of possum. He's climbing up top. Is Rento and Otto really upset? There he goes. Swamp
oh, and that one yet.
There's a hook leg. 1, 2, 3. Now it's all over.
A 2-time loser. And does the LC have to look after Miss Rento and Otto tonight, baby?
There's Adam Firestorm, your winner in this match. Once, twice, 3 times, it didn't matter. Bryan Alvarez not up to it. Miss Rento Onato absolutely disgusted with it. Mark Watson explaining to him it was a 3 count this time. No hook the leg. Fair and square, Adam Firestorm, your winner here on Portland Wrestling. Fans will be right back with after a message from our sponsors.
Back on the show, Mike Sempervive, Filthy Tom Lawler here with you. It's a Filthy Friday on Wrestling Observer Live. We don't know where Bryan Alvarez is. We don't care where Bryan Alvarez is, but we hopefully he's very happy and content wherever that may be. Tom, talking about Mark Kerr and the Smashing Machine and The Rock playing Mark Kerr in the upcoming movie that they're doing. Mark Coleman in the news this week, a hero, saving his parents' life, being hospitalized after that crazy situation where he was visiting his parents and woke up and saved them from a fire at their home. A lot of people, who are a lot younger, just producer Daniel earlier on, giving up on his age. I mean, it feels like a lifetime ago that we were watching MMA from Japan. It feels like forever ago that the HBO documentary The Smashing Machine came out. And Mark Kerr in Mark Coleman, the movie's about Mark Kerr, but Mark Coleman plays such a huge part in that movie. Talk a little bit about Mark Coleman, and I don't want to say he's an inspiration to you, but as somebody that came before you in this game when it was very young and came from a wrestling background and overcame jiu-jitsu, was one of those guys that started to break down the walls of the domination of jiu-jitsu when it came to the UFC. Can you talk a little about Coleman and his influence and how big of a personality and a force he was in this sport?
Well, Mark Coleman, Mark the Hammer Coleman was one of the prototypical wrestlers from the U.S. who, I mean, if Mark Kerr wasn't going to have the nickname the Smashing Machine, it could have been Mark Coleman, but the Hammer fits him just as well. Out of the wrestlers that we saw, Dan Severn, Don Fry, the guys that preceded him, he was the best of them. He submitted Dan Severn with a headlock. The headlock you see in pro wrestling in every match, a headlock takeover finish on the ground. Mark Coleman submitted Dan the Beast Severn with that. He beat up Don Fry badly. This guy was a wrecking ball. He was a legit hammer during his time. If headbutts were still allowed, he'd still be the UFC champion. That was always the thing on the internet. But he had a great, he had a downfall, I guess you could say, with a disputed fight, I guess you could say, against Nobuhiko Takada, where he lost via leg lock, and a lot of people counted him out. But he made a huge comeback. He won the Pride Grand Prix, defeated Igor Vovchanchyn with a bunch of knees, and really resurrected his career. Defeated Shogun Hua when Shogun Hua was at the top of his game. Now, albeit it was a injury, TKO injury victory, Mark Coleman was one of the top fighters and one of the top personalities in MMA. And if you want to talk about the kind of influence this guy had on not only me, but other fighters, he also ventured into Hustle and IGF and did professional wrestling. And he and Kevin Randleman were one hell of a tag team when they were together. And Mark Coleman is a legend. It's unfortunate. I mean, clearly it's terrible what happened to him and his parents. I hope, I don't hope that I am put in this situation, but I hope one day I can prove myself to be as loyal and as good of a man as the Little Hammer was. R.I.P. to the real hero, the dog who woke up Mark Coleman and let him know what was going on. But I was very happy, as I'm sure a lot of people were, to see that guy wake up. He had the tubes in his nose. His voice sounds like he was in a house fire.
Yeah.
But he said he's the luckiest man alive, and, man, brought a tear to my eye. Still does every time I think about it. So best wishes to the Hammer. And we're going to see a Smashing Machine movie, a movie about Mark Kerr, but there better be a movie about Mark Coleman made sooner than later.
I would love to see it because, he's the first UFC heavyweight champion technically ever, and left the UFC because of money, because I believe that part of a contract dispute that ended up getting him out of there, which, a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, the 185-pound division with Murillo Bustamante, and it seemed to be
Dave Manet. Dave Manet and Gil Castillo.
Well, but the guys who ended up, they would win the championships and then go over to Japan and fight because that's where the money was. Remember when Rich Franklin went over to take a fight in K1 because he was making $100,000 and he went over there and ended up getting knocked out. But he's like, that's where the money was at the time. It's amazing how the way that times have changed so much, and it was really off the backs of all these guys like the Goodriches and all these other guys who came through that, we're able to have what we have today and is able to be, where we've gotten today has been absolutely amazing. And it's, kind of funny looking at where Japan is right now and the situation in Japan. One time boxing was king here. Well, now if you look at it, the number one fighter in the world, if you don't think that it's Terrence Crawford, is Naoya Inoue. And it seems to be...
Oh, he's number one. The little monster is the best boxer on this planet.
He's an absolute killer. And now you look at, the situation that they're in with mixed martial arts, and, you look at it here, and there's no even... there's nothing even close. And what did you think, though? I mean, when you saw, because you talked about the controversial fight with Takada, what a lot of people don't, I mean, he took a vertical suplex from Takada. I mean, as soon as I saw that, I thought, you know, there are things that happen here in Pride and happen in Japan that may not necessarily be on the level so much. What did you think about that? And again, he says, hey, he never admitted, to my knowledge, he never admitted that that fight was work, but he is very clear in saying, I had the opportunity to come back and they were going to continue to keep paying me if I came back.
It reminds me of the great Bobby the Brain Heenan quote of, we never said it was real. You just said it was fake.
It's, you know, it's the perfect way to put it. The absolute perfect way to put it. No good way to transition back to American wrestling after that, but I'm going to have to here. Bailey and Dakota Kai. By the way, I think that's the only thing that's mentioned otherwise for SmackDown tonight. We got a lot of matches that we're going to actually have to get together here at some point that I'm assuming are going to come to pass tonight. Jay and Jimmy Uso has got to officially be announced for the show. I have a feeling we're getting Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits against Karrion Kross and the AOP in a match on one of the 2 nights of WrestleMania, which takes them out of the tag team title shot picture where Dunn, Bate, you got Pretty Deadly, you have, I don't know, who do you have, Fury and Waller maybe? You know, I don't know how all that's going to go down. Plus, Jake Paul, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, that situation. Are we getting in your mind, since you're our SmackDown expert, are we getting a U.S. title match between all 3 of those guys? Or do you think that we could have a 4th person involved and it either turns into a tag team match between, say, the Pauls against Owens and Orton or something like that, or we get a multiple person U.S. title match?
I'm leaning towards a 3-way between Paul, Owens, and Orton because they teased that dissension after the match last week where Orton almost hit him with the brass knuckles. And I think if you're not going to move in that direction, just don't even do that whatsoever. And maybe it's the conspiracy theorist in me, but I feel like we might be getting some sort of swerve in the Raw match as well with Gunther and getting Chad Gable, who wasn't pinned, added to that match. WWE, as we've seen in the past, loves on the 2 nights of WrestleMania to put forth shows that are essentially the same thing on different nights where we've had during the COVID era, I think it was like one big title match was just all big moves one night. The next night it was the same thing. You'd have one stipulation match one night, one women's title match one night, one the other. So we may be getting 2 multi-mans in those title matches when I thought we were getting Randy Orton versus Logan Paul, even though it had been Logan Paul and Kevin Owens feuding forever. And maybe it's going to be the same thing in Raw.
Did I say Jake Paul earlier or Logan?
I don't know what you said.
What do you think about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson?
Everybody's
what do you think about
talking
the money that Netflix is obviously going to kick out for this.
Netflix is in a big spending mood, aren't they? I've got some ideas for them.
So if this, to me, this is so pandemic era and stuck in a weird time. But with that said, it's also, you want to talk about a draw back to the old days of mixed martial arts in Japan on New Year's Eve. You get Bobby Olagun fighting Akabono or whatever it would be, and that's what this feels like a little bit. Although I assume safely, I would think. This is an exhibition, right? I mean, does anybody, because there seems to be the mainstream media who tends to be really, out of step when it comes to talking about anything when it's related to boxing. I mean, I have a feeling that a handful of them, at least, seem to think that this is going to be a real fight.
I think we're going to get something more along the lines of Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah.
Than something along the lines of Logan Paul, Tommy Fury, or Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, or whatever bum cab driver tomato can he just fought. I think this is going to be an exhibition. If you remember, even against like Roy Jones Jr., Tyson pulled his foot off the gas a little bit. And people are talking about, oh my God, he's fighting 50-something-year-old Mike Tyson. Well, Tyson fought a few years ago, and he was actually moving around pretty well from what I remember. Now, a lot can go south in years over time, but he looked pretty good in these short clips on the mitts. And I don't think that Jake Paul's going to try to take his head off.
I'm just wondering.
Now, as I said that, I was very apprehensive, thinking about, what could happen. Is he going in there trying to pull attention Nasukawa, and he's going to go after Mike Tyson and get his head knocked off like Tenshin did against Floyd Mayweather? Or what's going to happen here?
That was an amazing exhibition as well, too, because I'm sure Floyd would have been fine with taking that guy 12 rounds in the same way that he took Conor for however long that it was before he ended up, putting a period at the end of that. But Nishikawa going out there just getting completely wiped out. Didn't end up being the best thing there. Probably should get in a couple of notes here on AEW. Swerve Strickland revealed last night he's going to be performing at the Rolling Loud Music Festival in California this weekend. It's become the biggest festival in all of hip-hop. And he'll be performing on Sunday with Flash Garments as part of the DJ 5 Venom's appearance at the festival. The Big Pressure remix by Flash Garments and Swerve is what Swerve uses as theme music. Obviously, Tom, it's not exactly, a solo performance at Hot 97 Summer Jam, but, a feather in Swerve's cap there, and obviously good attention that AEW could use to continue to pump this guy up as one of their biggest stars. We'll let you know what's going on with Rampage and Collision over the weekend, as well as Tom's thoughts on the New Japan Cup. Hopefully they're short, sweet, and mean. Wrestling Observer Live.
Tony Storm, joined by Mariah May and Luther.
The panic is over, I'm here.
Hello, beautiful.
Great to see you.
Mr. Khan.
Great to see you,
I'm
Champ.
getting all tangled. I can't do this. Luther. Luther,
all right?
I'm stuck.
This is great. It's perfect.
Nothing.
Fantastic. I know.
It is so nice to see you.
It's great to see you, Champ.
So proud of you.
Thank you. I'm so proud of you.
Can't remember the reason why, but I am.
Thank you.
Yes.
Congratulations.
You know what? We should start these a little later and go on even longer.
Oh.
And that way we can all have breakfast.
That's great. Sounds great. I have an 8 a.m. in Palm Beach, so it's gonna be a long one, but we're good.
Tony Storm, congratulations on retaining your title tonight. How are you feeling after this match with Deonna Purrazzo?
Shit, Renee, if you must know. But let's get to the important business. So, since all your questions often amount to a fair amount of yellow communist journalism, I've prepared a statement of my own. That way you won't have to announce which website you work for as like a point of pride, so... Excuse me. Good evening. I am still your AEW Women's World Champion. But I couldn't have done it without the following people. Thank you to the city of Greensboro for keeping the riffraff out of the hotel lobby. Best wishes and happy retirement to Sting. Seems like just yesterday we started on this journey together. Feel free to use my summer house in Martha's Vineyard. I would like to thank my protege, Mariah May, for capturing the unpolished beauty of my youth. I see something in you. I don't know what it is, but I do. I am giving you full access to my old storage unit. Help yourself. Of course, to my trusted servant Luther. Yes, I'll have a salmon nori roll, carbonated water, and Pepto-Bismol.
Right
Chop,
away,
chop.
madame.
Thank you, dear. Thank you to official Aubrey Edwards for making the right decision. But next time, please wear milder perfume, if you could. I have a bit of a headache. I would like to thank the commentators, Mr. Tasmaniac and Sean Excalibur Mooney, for their usual East Coast, West Coast analytical banter. And the utmost respect for my opponent and former friend Deonna Purrazzo. A great showing. A great showing. You took me to the limit. You brought out the best in me, and blah, 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 blah. I hope you go back to Impact. I tell you what, my arms are killing me. I don't know how I'm going to do my usual debauchery tonight. I am going to have to open that gift bag that Karen Jarrett got for me. If you understand what I mean.
Sempervive, Filthy Tom Lawler here with you. A big, messy edition of Wrestling Observer Live today, Filthy, which, you know, hey, perfect for your return to the program.
Perfect. It's what I love. Throw me right in the muck.
The muck, the mud, like AEW's ratings, right? That's what everybody, the ones that hate, boy, are they bringing this up. Wednesday's Dynamite, 801,000 viewers on TBS, a 3% increase from last week. 18 to 49 demo remained the same at 0.27. This does not include the overrun of the show. You know, I know a lot of people are, you know, will want to jump on that number or anything, but you can't fix it all overnight. Consistency is incredibly important when it comes to AEW, but Okada, Ospreay, Mercedes, you got Kyle O'Reilly back, you got Pac back. At some point, you're going to get MJF and Jamie Hayter back. So, you know, to me, if you do the right thing by Jay White, Takeshita, Samoa Joe, Willie Hobbs, you start, like, doing something with those guys and fix your tag division, which you're set up to do right now with this tournament that is supposed to be kicking off. You know, for what anybody says, they seem to be in a good position here for the rest of the year. But again, it's a lot of dotting I's and crossing T's with this company, Tom.
Yeah, I think they're in a fine position. You know, the ratings, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, the ratings are fine. They're doing good against what else is on television. And I think, like you said, they're set up for some big things. They've got one of the most stacked rosters that we've ever seen in the history of professional wrestling. Like, I wish I could have everybody that they have on that roster on the Fight Forever video game.
It's an AEW and WWE's roster as well, too, with the NIL guys that are, for what anybody says about that program, and I was wondering how it was going to work when you're getting Obafemi and Bronco Nima and Lucian Price looking good, all the young people that they have and the other folks that they have with them, too. Right now, wrestling is in a very, very good position, unless you're really upset over the Continental Crown being broken apart, which I got to be honest, Tom, real quick. What did you think?
Hey, I'm not upset because maybe finally I'll get my return match for that New Japan Strong open weight title. And if I don't, heck, even if I do, I'll probably still be on these airwaves with you. Because this is what I love doing, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Champions. We shall talk to you again after a while.